Welcome back to another video. My name's Chase. This is my garage. Behind me, my 1979 Oldsmobile custom cruiser that we're swapping this Duramax drivetrain into. Today is a big update video because behind me, my whiteboard looks a little different. So I just took the time, and you can see this goes all the way down now. I just took the time to update this board. So I wiped a clean slate. I took a picture of what I had on there first. But now we're kind of in chronological order of what needs to happen. Chronological, is that the right word? Sure, we're gonna roll with it. Anyways, let's get started here. So first things first, you got a sneak peek at the new rear end housing and stuff that showed up the other day. This is from Quick Performance. This is a Ford inspired 9-inch housing, fabricated, fully braced inside and out. There are gussets everywhere. I opted for the thick wall tubing because torque, but pretty sweet unit. Still not going to go super in-depth in that today, but here it is. First thing on the list, though, involves this. Clean paint, rear end housing, clean slag. So even though this got some pretty welds all over it, there is a little bit of splatter in places around the ends. Not that anybody's going to see it, and not that I really care, but I am going to go clean some of that up with the air needler, especially on the inside here. Oh, it's dark, but there is a little bit of splatter, and I know nothing's probably going to come off, but I'm not going to risk it. I believe that's a magnet drain plug. I hope it is. If it's not, I'm going to get one. Thanks for reminding me to check that. But there's a little bit of splatter, a little bit of slag that I'm going to go in and clean up on the inside here. Make sure everything's 100% clean in here because we don't want contaminants. First on the list. So second, I can do that. You know, this is very tentative and everything is kind of in the right order, but kind of not. It's all very close. Paint undercarriage and frame. So yesterday, 2 days ago, I don't know, I went under here again and I took the needler and I took a wire wheel on the grinder, and as you see, there's stuff everywhere again. A couple videos back I showed you I did this once, but now that everything's out and I had space. Oh yeah, by the way, control arms are out. They're on the floor somewhere over there. There they are. Everything's out. So while I had space, I took the needler, I cleaned up any loose scaling, anything that was whatever, because, well, I just said it. We're going to paint everything under here to the best that we can. Next thing on the list, center section in. Well, that's a problem right now because we're still waiting. I don't have any type of update on when that's going to be here, but really I can't do anything else on this list until that center section's here, and you'll see why as we go on. But once the center section gets here, axles go in, control arms, well, should be on before that goes in, and rear shocks, you can see I put in red. Rear shocks on first. And side note is I need new spring seats, or like the pads, the bushings. I believe the technical term is a seat, spring seat. And I need to get airbags. Now, the airbags are gonna be the in coil type, so coil spring airbag. Turn that off. I have a set of bags up in the rafters somewhere there that I had on the Camaro, but I think these springs are bigger than the Camaro. I had to get them down. If they fit, I'll use them, but I'm pretty sure they won't. I think these are taller. So airbags, if I don't already have them, I need to get them. So once control arms are on, Housing will be in with everything on it. That means that rear brakes will go in, and that means the rear end will be in finally. Yay. Once the rear end is all the way in, that means drive shaft needs made. So local company I had mentioned several videos ago already gave me the okay whenever I'm ready. Bring everything I need. I may or may not still use the donor truck's drive shaft and have it shortened and modified for this purpose. I don't think I recorded it, but the drive shaft's under here right now. It's not in place. I moved it because I was working. Anyways, but this drive shaft diameter is very large. If you didn't know, that's I don't know, like a 6-inch drive shaft diameter. Pretty big. And it just, I think it would clear, but it's very close to the tunnel and I don't feel comfortable with it, so it might end up just being a custom drive shaft completely. Anyways, continuing on, where we end up, transmission mount bolts. Yeah, I could still do that right now, but it's also gonna be easier. I mean, I can make the marks, but that's still gonna be easier with everything out. So I'm not in a super rush for that. All I gotta really do is make 2 marks where I need things to go, and that'll be quick. So once those things are done at the top here, that means the drivetrain can come out. Drivetrain can come out because that means the rear end's in and the drive shaft has been made. That means the drivetrain is complete. I know everything's sitting where it's supposed to be. That's a good thing. All right, continuing on. You'll see I have some little arrows here and there. So it looks like while everything's out, I should have probably put steering shaft back at the top, because again, let me remind you one more time. I know I feel like I've made 18,000 videos on this. Now that this engine has been moved a little bit since the original fabrication of the steering stuff, it didn't fit. The bar, the manifold's in the way now, whatever. I've already made measurements and I made marks down in there of where the heim joint needs to go now, but I can't get any tools in there right now. I can't get a grinder, cutter, or welder, nothing in here right now to put the heim joint where it needs to go now. So essentially all this has to come out before I can do the steering shaft again. I found another piece that came with the kit that I had put away, I forgot about, but if I need it, I can use this, because I think it's this piece. This lower piece I had, it may or may not work. Everything that I already cut might still work, but I might need to make a longer, shorter piece that actually goes to the rack, and I got plenty here to use. Moving on. So I moved that. Wash, clean, paint engine bay. Obviously would be much easier to do with everything out and in blue next to it. I don't know why I used blue when I used red on everything else. Paint engine. Did I record this? I don't know. I kind of ended up rattle canning everything on the front, and I know I recorded painting the alternator bracket, but this is probably the closest thing I'm gonna get to Oldsmobile blue without actually buying Oldsmobile blue. I don't remember if I recorded or not, but this is the vacuum pump that went off of the original Olds diesel engine. This is essentially where the distributor would go on a gas engine, but vacuum pump, you can see it's painted that color, and I don't know, when the light hits it a certain way, I mean, it's very close. It's kind of in the shadow from the door, but trust me, it's pretty close. So paint engine means, I guess, finish valve covers. I don't know if I'll paint this coolant tube because I feel like the temperature fluctuation is just going to make the paint peel over time. And yes, I believe this is an engine enamel and it's made for that, but I still don't think, I don't know, we'll see. I might just paint it just cause. This intake horn probably get painted because that's a big kind of right in your face, right in the middle there. I think that's part of the intake, so that shouldn't be a problem. That'd be cold enough. Well, I guess the cold can make the paint peel too. Whatever, you know, you get where I'm going with this. Paint the rest of the top of the engine. I can do that with it in or out, don't matter, but I'd probably rather do the rest of it while it's out so I don't get, you know how it goes. So while everything's out, new torque converter. I haven't 100% picked where I'm getting that from, but it might be from the dmaxswap.com guys, because I don't know if that's going to change the tune for my TCM, but I can assume it would. And if that's the case, because I'm ordering from them, that means they will tune for life, because I already purchased the tuning from them for my ECM and TCM. So why not? If I'm gonna buy their product, they're gonna adjust accordingly. So that's probably what that's gonna happen. Change transmission, spin-on filter. So that has a spin-on filter on the outside of the Allison 1000, and it also has an inside filter. I am not gonna take the inside filter out. The fluid that came out of everything has been very, very clean, and I really don't want to disturb the inside of that. I wrote fluid, but I got a big no fluids at the top, so that's whatever. Transmission dipstick. Now, that's not something I thought about until now, when I was making this list within this last hour. So the transmission dipstick is going to end up coming up somewhere right about here. I think we're going to be okay. I have to go find it. I don't know where. It's either up here, up there in the rafters. But I think it has enough of a bend, because it's dark, you're not going to see it. Just trust me, at the end of my finger there's the rag that's stuffed in the dipstick hole. I believe it comes up, over, and up, so it should be somewhere around here. It's not going to lay against the turbo, because, I mean, in the truck it didn't lay against the turbo. The configuration's not going to change. Something just fell. Oops. So, the only thing that might get in the way is the heater core box, condenser box, whatever. Heater core, condenser, that setup. So if I have to get something else, I get something else. I really don't want to get one of those like flexible dipstick tube things, you know, like the braided steel. I had a bad experience with those. I had put one on the Camaro when I changed the transmission in it years ago, and it just leaked and leaked and leaked, and it just would not seal in the transmission, and just pain in the butt. So transmission dipstick, that's something I do need to get down. I could check it now, but I mean, either way it's gonna get checked. So let's go back here. Where'd we leave off? So steering shaft we already talked about. Cotter pins for tie rods. I don't know why I don't just do that. I gotta put those in still. But, oh, I know. So I think what I did, oh, check out this neat little stool I got. Did I say that already? It's got like scooter wheels. So it goes over bumps and cracks and everything real good. Anyways, I think it's dark. I don't know why I try to show you. But if you go way back to like my second or third video, I had to drill the bottom of the knuckle because these tie rods are Ford tie rods, and the ends are bigger, so I needed a bigger hole for them to fit through. And I used a Christmas tree like step bit to make that conical shape so everything sits snug and flush and whatever. Well, I think what I did, I made it so where the threads come through the tie rod, but I didn't do it enough so where the hole for the cotter pin pokes all the way through. So I might have to drill those out still on both sides. I can't remember, but that's why it's on the list. So I gotta check the tie rods, because I know a nut will fit on it, but if I can't put the cotter pin through it, that don't do me no good. Cut, trim, exhaust manifolds. So rewind a couple videos back again when we were having not clearancing issues, but we were concerned about clearancing. So especially on this side is good now. Yeah, that's right. At first we were concerned about, I believe, this front exhaust manifold bolt. It was very, very close to the upper control arm here, but there's like again, I don't know if it's gonna pick it up. Nope. As soon as I put my hand there, there's a shadow. So this tab, you can kind of see it sticks off and is very close to the end of this nut. Now, am I ever gonna really have to change or adjust this? What is it, a camber or caster camber adjustment bolt? I forgot. But this is very close. Yeah, you could fit like a credit card through there, but I don't need that tab anymore. That was for the heat shields, and I'm probably not going to put the heat shields back on. Whether that's a good thing or not, I don't know, but tabs getting cut off. Any little extra casting that's not required. I think this side's good, but same thing. I'm going to go through, clean up all the extra castings that aren't needed on there. So on the topic of cutting and trimming things, we're cutting tabs on transmission. So that's something you'll see when everything's out again. It has like these big, I don't know what else to call them. They're tabs, they're ears that come off the top. And I mentioned it on the one video. I know I did. I have space around the tunnel, but it's, again, probably a little too close for comfort. So I'm just going to cut those tabs off. I don't think they really serve any purpose. They might have been something like mounting like from the factory, like in a fixture as it was going through the assembly line. I don't know, but I don't need them now. It's just going to add a little extra clearance, because who knows, when I hit a bump, is everything going to move? Is the body going to move? We don't know. Passenger side exhaust bolt tighten. What was that about? The back of the one manifold that goes into the turbo flange or turbo pipe, whatever, it needed, I had taken it out for something. That needs to go back in and tighten down, not so, whatever. While everything's out, I guess I also need to figure out shifter linkage. I believe it's just going to be a cable setup, because I believe that's what was in the truck. So that shouldn't be hard, and really I guess I could figure that out while everything's in. But essentially, like how the car originally had, lighting's not my friend, there's this tab that comes off the steering column right there before any of the heim joints or steering joints, and that tab's got a hole through it that essentially that hooked a piece of cable to another little linkage piece that hooked through the transmission, and this was all cable shift also. So I should be able to work that out. Now, will I ever really need to manually shift all 5 gears on this Allison? Probably not. I'm probably truly, honestly never going to need to do anything but just put it in drive, which everything should shift itself. But let me see if I can show you in here. My plan and goal is, and we'll talk about this in the future, but nope, it's too dark. You'll see the Prindle in here. So I got park, reverse, neutral drive, S, and then L. Now, L was low, but I don't know what S means. I don't think I've ever looked that up or heard that. So I guess that's on my to-do list to look it up. But so you go from a 3-speed transmission to a 5-speed transmission. I'm going to try my darndest to be able to make the shifter needle line up to every, or at least pretty close to every gear. Just for looks, I think that'd be pretty neat if I could figure that out. I don't know, I'm still showing you this, it's dark. But I don't think that's going to be hard to do. I think the transmission still has the bracket for the shifter cable on it. And if it don't, I guess I can make one or find one. Fuel control module, banjo bolt gasket. That is one of these fuel lines. This fuel line. No, that has, so see that little metal band that goes on the top and bottom? That's like I believe that's a gasket. So this, yeah, this lower one here, it's broken off, so it only has the 1/2. I need to find another one of those. But on the topic of that, the next thing on the list, low loop, low pressure fuel line where filter was. So I confirmed my suspicions the other day. I was able to actually look at a running LB7 that does have a lift pump on it already, in a truck, but that's besides the point. Same drivetrain, and he did not have the fuel filter housing up here, which is cool because obviously we're not using the fuel filter that was up here anymore. So I could actually probably take this bracket off. I'm gonna add that to the list real quick. How's about that? Take off old fuel filter bracket. I don't know what that means, if it's with that. So anyways, I confirmed my suspicions. Banjo bolt 1 goes to the top of the fuel control module. It's right in front of me. Where is it? This line that is loose right now would have originally, we already set it, fuel control module to fuel filter, which is no longer here, and then fuel filter would have gone back to this line that's just dangling here that goes back to the rest of the system. So essentially on this running LB7 I saw, they just had this line looped over to this line. Now, I think I'm going to get lucky. Now, I won't 100% see it until the fuel control module's on, but I think I can use either this line or the line I already have. Just put the banjo bolt on the end of this, and it should bend enough without kinking somewhere, however I'm going to route it. I might have to reroute it, but these are pretty close. And even if I have to trim it, I mean, I feel okay with that because it's low pressure. But yeah, if I can just kind of bend this over to the side and have one less thing up here, that'd be awesome. So to be determined. As you see, we're little past half on the list before I get to this. But I mean, really guys, this is, once one thing gets done, like the rest of it should like snowball downhill pretty quick. It's not necessarily hard stuff, it's just time consuming stuff. And of course I'm probably going to run into some problems here and there, so it might slow me down. But I mean, after After the center sections here, I don't really have to buy anything else, I don't think. I mean, other than drive shaft, but everything after the everything out, I don't think I have to buy anything else. So I shouldn't have to wait for anything. It's just going to be me holding myself accountable to get this done. All right, so new oil pan. I don't know. I'm still up in the air with that. You'll see when I have everything out. I ended up kind of squishing the corner. It's a cosmetic thing, but I don't know. I had the whole weight of the drivetrain essentially just sitting on the floor, so I don't know if anything like warped or that kind of whatever. So I don't want to just slap a gasket on and hope for the best. Yeah, I don't expect to get anything fancy, but just another stock oil pan would be fine. Fresh gasket and hope for the best. Another thing on that note, thanks for reminding me, I may or may not have to trim just a sliver where the oil pan sits on the passenger side. I mean, obviously it fits right now and nothing's touching, but it would probably make it a hair more comfortable if I trimmed maybe like a 1/2 inch out of part of that lower, right around where the lower control arm mounts. That would give me just a hair more space, so when it's time to put this in and out, obviously I don't want to pull this again after everything's in, but if I ever had to, it'd make it easier. Okay, I guess here's another big one, that's why it's in red. Oil filter adapter. I don't know if I mentioned this in another video, but it's good to know. I'm not crawling under there right now. The oil filters on these engines sit horizontal. So on the back corner here is where you screw onto the oil filter housing this way. So the threads face back, filter on. Not like this, like most vehicles, not in a diagonal like most vehicles, just straight on the back. Well, the next half to that is the stock filter is a pretty big filter. I mean, it sits out, that's, I think my finger spreads like 7 inches, 8 inches, but I mean, it sticks out pretty far. So even though it's here, I got space back here, but part of the original cross member still kind of sticks in front-ish. Now that's where we get in the business of remote oil filter housing, and that's something on the list, and that's something that I bought, that red box. Let me get over here and show you real quick. So I bought this TransDap oil filter relocation kit. Now I bought this based off of the thread size of what the factory filter uses. So this is what would screw on in place of the oil filter. Then you can see these are threaded. You got an in on the middle and an out on the top. So that's what that looks like on the bottom. So essentially it's set up how an oil filter would be. It has a O-ring that sits in. Now this would be great and this would fit, and this is pretty much exactly what I want and need to do so I can relocate the oil filter and put it wherever I want. But there's one problem with that. The diameter of this is too small. So correct thread size for what I got, but the outer diameter is too small. So the diesel filter is probably another 1/2 inch wider in outer diameter. So obviously, even with a gasket or an O-ring, this is not going to seal. So I got to find something. If anybody has information on a relocation kit for a Duramax diesel, please let me know, because I feel like I've searched many over the internet and no one seems to just sell a kit, which probably makes sense because not everybody's putting this big of an engine in a car they're typically putting it back in a truck, but that's why that's not going to work. And same ordeal on the second half of that. The bracket where you would relocate it to, the outer diameter, the filter would just eat the whole outside and stick out and not seal. So we got to figure out a different brand. I'm probably taking this back this weekend. So we got to figure that out too, because that's important. I need oil. So I think that concludes the list for while everything's out. So we get in the last third of the list. So I guess you could say this is broken up into 3 sections. Boom, boom, boom. So now I got everything in. And what are these lines for? Oh, so fuel tank in, lift pump has a question mark, because everything with a question mark, I didn't say, I may or may not have to order. So I guess I kind of lied. I don't have to buy anything else, but these are iffy still. Well, the lift pump's not an iffy, but whatever. Fuel tank in, lift pump in, have to pick and order still. Fuel lines. So I have a whole video on me painting horribly on this gas tank, fuel tank. Brake lines, prop valve, or proportioning valve. I didn't want to spell it out because I'm tired and I didn't want to use my brain. Bleed lines. So brakes will be done by that point. I've already would have put the rear brakes on at that point. Run the lines, proportioning valve. I have a GM proportioning valve, but it's a disc front drum rear valve. Sorry, I had to restart the camera. Proportioning valve I was talking about. So this would have originally had discs on the front, drums on the rear. That's cool, but the proportioning valve isn't going to work for discs. Now I know a lot of guys don't change it and just run what's on there. Well, that's cool, and it's not. And not everybody knows you have to change it. So I'm gonna tell you why. Essentially, rear drum brakes don't require as much pressure to lock up as discs do. I guess I worded that funny. Disc brakes require a lot more pressure to lock up than drum brakes do. And having a disc front and drum rear, that proportioning valve will actually, I believe, delay the fronts just a hair, so everything goes to the drums first. Those start to catch before the fronts catch. When this is getting swapped over to a disc, the proportioning valve is usually almost a 50-50 equal distribution of pressure. From my understanding, I think I said that right, but it's been a little bit, because that's what I went through on the Camaro when I converted that to rear discs. Back to it. Front accessories back on. Where are we at? We're almost to the end. Front accessories back on. So I'm not going to put the alternators on or the belt until, or the AC compressor or the power steering pump on, until this is back in for the last time, hopefully, because I don't want the chain and picker and stuff to get in the way and accidentally bump this or that, or you know how it goes. So accessories will go back on. I mean, that's pretty quick. So then we get into the next big part of all this. Core support goes back in. As you know, core support's sitting here. This will also probably be cleaned up and painted and all that before. I don't want to 100% do that either until I know that's fitting, because I might end up having to do some trimming or cutting or whatever, or welding or modification. So I don't want to paint that until I know that's 100%. But core support's going to follow a radiator. I already have a radiator picked out, I think. Intercooler, Fortunately, we talked about that. Gonna have to probably get a different one. Transmission cooler from the Camaro, we talked about that. Camaro has a pretty large overkill cooler. I found a much smaller power steering cooler. It's sitting on the bench over there that I'm gonna put in place of the Camaro, in place of the one that's in the Camaro now. Power steering cooler, I still got that from the donor truck. AC condenser, I have both the wagons and the trucks, whichever fits better, we'll see. And that's going to tie into the next half of all that. Once all that's set in place, then I can work on all the hosing for that, all the plumbing for that, I guess you could say. So AC hoses, power steering hoses, radiator hoses, intercooler hoses. Already got an intercooler kit. I think I briefly mentioned it. The radiator I found has a inlet and outlet both on this side. That way I could actually just do, so water pump just right in. And likewise, coolant out. So really the hoses should just go whoop, whoop, right where they need to go. That'll be great. I think I have to do, I don't have to, but I'd rather do that first, figure out the hose situation for the radiator, because then I'm gonna have to, let me see. I took this out the other day. It's gonna be pretty sweet. Assuming the power steering pump's not gonna be super in the way, and the radiator hose is gonna be kind of like a tight 90 right away, maybe. I might even be able to trim that now that I look at it. I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, check that out. That's like right where I need it to go kind of thing. So right off the turbo, if I can find a tight 90 that'll just bend that hose right away, I mean, I think we're set. That'll, you know, we're still under the hood, and I don't think the power steering pump's gonna come over that far. So this can come down and probably somewhere in here. I still plan on having both batteries up here in the front. So I'll have to see where that ends up, but I mean, that's pretty cool that I might not even have to modify that first bend. And then this side's gonna be a little different because I need this to go down almost right away. But I also might be able to use a second 90. I might have to trim this one, but that'll also come like down. So if I could find an intercooler where the in and out, I guess I could flip it upside down if needed, but if everything's like at the top, that'd be cool. The less plumbing, the less that has to go down and in the way, the better, maybe. But yeah, I thought that was neat when I held that up the other day. All right, plumbing. Next thing, wiring. So I don't want to put the wiring harness on until all that's done, because I don't want to accidentally nick it or tear it or break it or cut it or any of that stuff. I paid way too much money to accidentally mess it up. It's not way too much money. It's worth the investment, but you get what I'm saying. I don't want to accidentally mess it up. ECM, TCM is going to fall into place. I don't know if that's going to be an issue, because those also mount on the top area. So I have to be, what's the word? I have to be aware that the computers are probably going to live up here too still, or in this general area. So for plumbing, I need to see how far the wires reach. Because if I can reach, you know, I didn't think of it until now, but if I can reach through the firewall, I'll just tuck the computers on the other side of the firewall. Write that down. But the arrow went probably with fuel control module. That's gonna be, I need that up in place before I can run the fuel lines to it, kind of. Not really, because fuel lines come in and out on this side. I believe that's the in. That's a looks like a 3/8 line. 3/8 line in. That's probably the return line. So fuel lines come on this side, or they're gonna come on this side of the frame rail, up and in. That'll be good because all the exhaust is on that side. That also probably means all the brake lines are gonna be on this side as well. So brake and fuel lines are all gonna be on this side of the car. I got lots of space under there. I'm not 100% worried about that right now. So this arrow really doesn't need to be here. And that kind of leaves us with the last little bit. Exhaust. So I'm gonna have some type of resonator pipe, some type of muffler. Again, I know it's gonna be awesome to hear hopefully the turbo spool up a little bit and this and that, but I also want this thing to be super quiet so nobody's gonna know that that is under the hood. And that's kind of the whole point of everything I'm doing. I got grandpa tires on it, but they're awesome grandpa tires, and I'm gonna have hubcaps on it. You're not gonna know, and I know I've said it a couple times, but the original 350 Oldsmobile diesel engine was very loud. It was very clanky. When I tone this way down, I'm hoping for the same effect. If you haven't heard an Oldsmobile 350 diesel, look up a video of that and you'll understand what I'm going for. So that just kind of leaves with rotate tires. I know I've mentioned that in another video. Check headlights again, any of the electrical stuff. So turn signals, marker lights, headlights. I just said headlights, tail lights, front windows, front and back doors are crank windows, so we're not worried about that. But the rear hatch, rear door, rear whatever, the very rear window is electrical roll down window. I know it works because when I first got the car and plopped a battery in, everything electrical worked in the car. But electrical is also going to include gauges and stuff. We talked about that in an old video. So making sure that's going to be a whole different checklist once wiring goes on and gauges are in. That's why wiring's so far on the bottom, because I'm going to have to get a speedometer adapter. I'm just pointing the camera around, sorry. I'm going to have to get a adapter because I still like to retain the factory speedo. So it's going to be a GPS receiver that goes to a mechanical output. Pretty neat. But again, something else that costs money. And I should be able to retain temperature gauges, oil pressure gauges and stuff with this new harness. I shouldn't really have to get anything else other than, I think, the speedometer adapter, because this doesn't have any type of tachometer, so I'm not going to have any way to see my RPMs, if you'd like to say it, which is fine. I really don't want to, but I might end up getting some type of tachometer, a real small one, and putting it like under the steering column or something, or down out of the way, just to check. But there should be a wire for that too. That should just plug up to whatever tachometer. There's several things when we get into wiring, but nothing major that I'm very concerned about. But I'm not gonna know until it's in. I guess one last thing, there is like some of this old wiring. Thankfully I did label most of it before I took it apart, but like this is a oil pressure, I'm assuming for the dummy light. Then I got all my starter cables up here. I think all that should reach over that side still. You know, just little things like this. Whatever this is. Glow plug relay. I have to figure out some of that, because I was asked when I was doing the harness stuff, when we were going through the checklist of what I want to use and what I don't want to use for the new harness. Yes, I would like to retain factory glow plugs, because I'm probably going to drive it when it's cold out. Maybe not while it's snowing out, but it gets pretty cold up here. And if the roads are free of salt, I'm probably still going to drive it. So I'd like to add the glow plugs if possible, just to help, even though it might stay in the garage during the winter. I don't know yet, because the Camaro's getting a little lonely out there, and it might want to live in the garage for the first time in its life, because it's never lived in a garage. It's just been in an open carport or outside. This is the most covered that Camaro has ever been in its life. Poor thing. So I think that's everything I need to catch you up on. That's a lot of stuff we covered for just an update video. And obviously, as the center, or when the center section shows up, you know what, after looking at it, I just peeked over. One thing to add to all this, I didn't even mention control arms. When I said control arms on, I ordered new control arms. So when I took these old control arms out, or I took these old control arms out because I was like, I'm gonna change the bushings. But then I was like, do I really want to go through the pain of trying to get these old bushings out and the new bushings in, and not accidentally bend or crush or something with these old ones? So I was like, what are my options? New bushings, probably all around, upper and lower, is probably going to be about 150 bucks, and I have to struggle. Second option, buy all new upper and lower control arms for like, I don't know, 250, 300, and, you know, not worry at all. Or option 3, where do I stop? It's just money. Order new tubular control arms, which is what I did. So I got new tubular control arms on the way. They are non-adjustable. I was gonna opt for at least single adjustable for upper and lower, but then I started thinking, why? I'm not racing it. I'm not trying to fine tune it. I'm not doing this. I can do that on the Camaro all day with double adjustable stuff, but I'm not doing it on this. I don't need to. I don't need to go that extra mile. So I got new tubular control arms for this on the way with bushings in, so I don't have to struggle. Now, I believe that concludes a very big update on chronologically what should be happening, or pretty close to chronologically what should be happening over the next who knows how many weeks or days or months, or, you know, obviously it's going to take a little bit of time to do everything. So trying to maybe make a new goal of get this done by the end of the year, so I have until December 31st of 2026 kind of thing. But we'll see. That's what I said about last time, and then realized that this is a much bigger project than I was expecting. And, you know, but I'm learning, and we're getting things done, and it's been great. And sadly, I have not had the Camaro out this year at all. Poor thing. I even keep looking at it through the door, but I did finally kind of wash it off the other day. Looks like it got some stuff on it already, but poor thing hasn't gone out this year, and it probably won't get out this year. I think I might have briefly mentioned when I take that back. I got it out early this year, like back in March or April or something, or no, April or May. I got it started and out for the first time. It was having some issues idling. I figured it was just from sitting and it needed some fuel through it. Well, I got it down the road. It was kind of like surging and bucking the car back and forth. Well, me being me, I gunned it, and the car must have squatted hard enough where the tire had caught the inner fender well and gashed the tire pretty good. Well, I don't want to buy just one tire and then have the other one worn pretty good. And I don't know, I haven't even looked, but those tires were like $300 a piece when I first got them, And I don't want to spend 600 bucks or more right now just to only get out 2 times, handful of times this year, and then the car sits for another several months before it comes out. So I hate to say it, we're probably just going to push back racing this year. I am content right now putting this thing together, and it's been fun, it's been a journey, so why stop now? I still got some motivation in me. So again, here's the list if you want to pause or scroll or whatever at any time. I could do it like Star Wars credit. Alright, that's it. We're done. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.